American forces flex their military muscle during a road trip through Europe, but not everyone's enjoying the show. Middle fingers being raised and ugly Nazi history. Just some of the things fueling tensions ahead of a meeting in Berlin between the Greek Prime Minister and the German Chancellor. Plus, the Afghan President is on his first official visit to the US, with defence meetings planned in the Pentagon later today to discuss prolonging the stay of American troops in his country. Hello there, it's just gone midday in the Russian capital. You're watching RT International. Welcome to the programme. American armoured vehicles are rolling down the streets of European cities. A US Army unit is making a big deal out of its routine return from drills on Russia's doorstep. Instead of taking a fast trip by train, the convoy set off from training grounds in Estonia, Lithuania and Poland in an 1,800-kilometre drive back to the base in Germany. The journey also takes place in Latvia and the Czech Republic as well. Now, on the way, the troops aren't hesitating to advertise their presence on social media.
Right now, I'll show you what you guys are going to be seeing rolling down all the way from Estonia to Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Czech, and Germany. This is the Striker.
The troops are making several stops along the way to show off their heavy metal to the locals. The hands-on display includes a chance for anyone, including children, to get a grip on some of these big guns. Now, NATO officials were quick to tweet photos of enthusiastic Estonians checking out the American vehicles there during one of the first stops of the trip. But it seems not everyone is so happy about the spectacle. In the Czech Republic, anti-war activists have started a campaign to oppose the passage of the American convoy. Now, the protest is being held under the hashtag Tanks No Thanks. All right, well, let's go over here. OK, so let's take a closer look at some of the discussions that are taking place on social media right now about this so-called Dragoon ride. So we've got one Twitter user called into doubt the stated aim of the road trip, asking whether the convoy was actually on its way to World War III even. Another tweet went as far as calling the American cruise through Europe an ongoing invasion. Some poked fun at its name, calling it idiotic and American propaganda stunt even. While this week called the military convoy a means of spreading goodwill through a show of force. And this user suggested that Czech troops will have to protect the Americans from sceptical locals. Now, one Polish anti-war activist thinks the US display is a blunt attempt to win hearts and minds.
In fact, the situation that we have now with the so-called Dragoons ride is part of the wider NATO's attempt to build its own military position in Eastern Europe, and being placed in Poland. I think the responsibility of anti-war movement is clearly to oppose the whole NATO infrastructure and the whole attempts to, growing NATO presence and the whole issue of militarization here. Of course, we are living in the under the strong militaristic propaganda. I'm sure that many people feel there's something wrong with the whole story.
There's no lead. All right, we're now going to be joined by Tony Robinson right here to discuss this in more detail. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us here in RT International. Pleasure to have your company. Sir, so your outlet has been covering some of the protests against this American show of force in Europe. What level of objection are we talking about here?
Well, awareness of this show of force is very low, and in any case, the media in countries like the Czech Republic is hugely influenced by US media. For instance, the main TV station in the Czech Republic is 50% owned by Time Warner, which is part of the media group that includes CNN. So the portrayal of the situation on the media of the situation is that Putin is bad and the USA is good, and I think that's that portrayal is what most people in the region are receiving. An opposition is starting to emerge, though, because in the Czech Republic, for instance, tank movements and these vehicles that look like tanks are very sensitive. The previous time that tanks rolled onto the streets of Prague, they were, of course, the Soviet forces crushing moves to democracy, and the time before that, they were Hitler's tanks. So these images are stirring the Czechs, and they don't feel at all comfortable with it. And let's not forget that
we've seen that, haven't we? But I mean, do you think that the reaction would have been any different if these troops were from another NATO country instead of America?
Well, it's hard to imagine other NATO countries mobilizing troops in a coordinated fashion without the USA. NATO is the US's baby, and the US economy depends on this military spending. One of the reasons for the existence of the European Union was to prevent wars on European soil. I think Russia would really have to be openly threatening an invasion of Europe in order for Europeans to respond in such a way.
Now, for me, one of the most bizarre, maybe even disturbing things is we've even seen children get involved here. There's another case where soldiers are allowing the public, including children, to climb onto the vehicles and even hold the weapons themselves. Is this still some sort of effective publicity stunt?
This is absolutely horrifying. I mean, for anyone who's remotely sensitive to the power that these machines have, the thought of children running around on the vehicles and holding these weapons and brandishing them like they were some kind of toy, I think for the vast majority of sensible people, this image is totally horrifying. But you know, it's all part of the propaganda that the USA and those people in favor of conflict, because they're not just Americans, there are people in other countries, but it's the propaganda that the people want to show in these countries.
Well,
that,
you say people want to show,
friendly.
but let's talk about who exactly, because the populations of European NATO members certainly don't fully support the US. But what about the European governments, though? Are they all behind Washington's military moves and these ambitions? No?
I don't think so. I think European governments are very nervous. I think you can see how Angela Merkel pulled together Putin, Poroshenko and Holland together in order to broker a ceasefire. And I think Germany in particular wants to avoid a war at all costs. There are some governments which are pro-conflict. I mean, the UK government seems to always follow the line that the US is giving, and I think this is for UK public consumption, making the UK public believe that the UK still has some influence in world affairs. But generally, I think Europe, as I say, the European Union was designed to avoid war in European soil at all costs, and I think there's a lot of anxiousness in European governments.
All right, Tony, thanks ever so much. Live from Budapest there, Tony Robertson, co-director of independent news agency Press Thank you.
Thank you very much.
OK.